What if I told you there was a relatively easy way to add more power, speed, and stamina to your game without having to spend endless hours training inside the gym or at the pitch? Well, something like this exists, and it lies behind how you move. So in today's video, I want to go over how you can effectively enhance the quality of your movement so that you can become a more energy efficient player that can sprint, cut, and turn faster, last longer, and reduce the likelihood of injury. The good part about this, guys, is that you can see some great performance gains even by investing less than 20 to 30 minutes per week in this. So you can say that the ROI is pretty high. So now you might be thinking, how does my movement correlate to how fast and explosive I am, or how much I can last in a game? To help you understand the why behind my point, just think of the fact that there's an entire branch within the sports science industry that studies human movement efficiency and is known as sports biomechanics. The sports science branch basically is the science of explaining how and why the body moves the way it does, and its aim is to help athletes perfect their movement in technically demanding sports like track and field, where the slightest change in a joint angle can make or break an entire race. Think of it like this. On one hand, you have an amateur player with poor biomechanics. He just looks sloppy with his movement, no fluidity, no rhythm, no coordination. On the other hand though, you have a pro player. Now in the vast majority of cases, the movement mechanics of the pro player just seem better with the naked eye, a byproduct of years of training. Now I'm not saying that all amateurs are sloppy and that all pro players are moving like elite sprinters, neither do I say that by enhancing your movement you will become a pro overnight. I'm also not pushing perfect movement to you in a sport where chaos and unpredictability are core elements. What I am saying though is that every footballer can benefit greatly from fitting his or her movement within an energy efficient range. Nothing more, nothing less. You're not trying to become the next Usain Bolt. You just want to enhance your movement to be able to produce better force outputs on average, sprint, run, and change directions with the least amount of energy leaks possible over the whole 90 minutes, and reduce the likelihood of getting a silly injury because your neuromuscular system doesn't yet know how to save you in awkward situations. So at what age should you start developing your biomechanics? The ideal time to start doing it was yesterday. If you didn't start early though, now is the next best time to do it. For any parents watching, it would be wise to start caring about your child's movement efficiency as early as possible. And that is because a child's neuromuscular system is like a sponge. Expose it to the proper movement early on, and that kid will enjoy an energy efficient movement for the rest of his life, not just his sporting career. So once again, if you haven't already started improving your biomechanics, now is the best time to start, and make sure to stick until the end of this video because I'm gonna share some templates and exercises with you that you can start using to accelerate your results. So, how do you improve your biomechanics for football? Now if you think of the game, you will quickly understand that due to its chaos, there are endless movements and actions you get exposed to during a 90-minute game. Having said that, when it comes to coaching and programming for movement optimization, we like to focus on the most commonly executed actions, which you can see on screen right now. Before we move any further though, I want to go over some precautions and of course the training principles that will guide your movement optimization. First and foremost, you gotta perform each repetition properly. If you don't see yourself improving little details from session to session, and you're constantly performing movement exercises like the ones we are gonna share in just a bit with poor biomechanics, then guess what? That poor movement will be reinforced into your system and you will keep moving poorly. In fact, even if your movement is somewhat energy efficient right now and you expose it to poorly performed biomechanic drills, you could end up with poor movement over the long run. So, your number one priority is and should always be the quality of your repetitions, not the amount of reps and sets you do. It is about technique, and if you want quality in your technique, you just have to perform these drills with proper mechanics. Not perfect ones, just energy efficient ones. For that purpose, every time you're about to perform any movement drills, make sure you go over the video demos carefully, observe how every joint moves and changes during each action from head to toe, and of course, stick with the principles we're about to share. As mentioned earlier, there is a multitude of actions you perform on the field on game day in general. However, in the stable environment of training, we usually focus on certain actions that are the most common. These actions include jumping, top velocity sprinting, acceleration, cutting and turning mechanics, as well as running and ball technique economy. Based on the action and the phase of the movement you want to improve or focus on, there are loads of ways you can approach their development in regards to exercise selection and loading. As a rule of thumb, we like to use various extensive plyometrics and yielding or overcoming isometrics to improve the quality of our player's movement in all of these actions. What we use and how much we use it really depends on the training block our players are in and the needs they have. In general though, both exercise categories are utilized to A. establish strength and improve the rate of force development at specific joint angles, and B. get that coordination, fluidity, rhythm, and elasticity of a certain movement in a more dynamic way. With extensive plyometrics, we usually opt for reps or distance and 2 to 4 sets. You can also play around with the external loads you use and choose between assisted, bodyweight, or resisted variations. The rest time for extensive plyometrics can stay relatively short due to their low impact nature, and the focus should be extensive as implied by their name, meaning that effort isn't maximal, whether that means quick, bouncy, and springy actions for exercises like skips and hops, or longer ground contact times and deep angles for other exercises. Extensive plyometrics include exercises such as pogo hops, A and B skips, light sled pushes, skater hops, 45-degree hops, and a dozen other variations you can find inside our training programs. Now, in regards to the technical aspect of the game, you all know me. I don't really like repetitive ball drills for technical development. However, when it comes to your technical economy, that's an instance where repetitive drills can be of use. If you perform almost every repetition like you should, then you're good to go. Now, what about isometrics? For all of you that don't know, yielding isometrics are exercises where you hold a specific position either loaded or unloaded for a specific time, and overcoming isometrics are exercises where you push against an immovable object. Both isometrics are typically used to build strength at a specific joint angle. In fact, over the last few years, I have come across a certain category of isometrics called run and sprint specific isometrics created by Alex Natera. What these isometrics are basically doing is A. get an athlete used to a certain position, and B. get that athlete stronger at that exact position and improve their rate of force development. It's a less dynamic method compared to extensive plyometrics, but the upside here is that the player can get the feel of the position you want them to get in. For example, many of my players struggle to get themselves into good body angles to accelerate and therefore lose valuable milliseconds. In this instance, a wall acceleration iso hold or push at an approximately 45-degree angle can help you get that feeling of how leaned forward we want you to be and how you should push off the ground in those first acceleration steps. Now, I know all of this info, including the exercises, is great, but do you now want to know the exercise that will make everything better for you? That is doing the thing you're trying to improve with better movement mechanics. It's studying and observing movement by the best and actively using that visual feedback to make your movement better. So start sprinting, accelerating, cutting, turning, jumping, and running more, but do it with intent. Understand how your body moves and adapt a better approach that will help you slowly fit your movement into an energy efficient range. And of course, if you would like to skip all the guesswork and just start taking smart action, we're here for you. Until the next time guys, have a good one.